Well, hello, this is J.R. Hudson with Scenic Edge Photography, and I'm going to do something a little different this year. For my best images, the ones that I've selected that I think are my best, each year in the past I have put up the images on my gallery, scenicedge.com, but this year I thought I'd do a little video about some of the background of the images, what I went through to get them, and a little bit of the ambient information surrounding the image itself. So without further ado, I will let you look at these images and listen to the voiceovers. In the earliest time of the day during my photography walk, the color is a rich golden color which contrasted nicely with the blue sky that morning. Behind the dunes on the Long Beach Peninsula, trees struggle to keep a foothold amidst the grasses. It's a harsh environment for larger plants due to the exposure to the ocean winds and saltwater spray. The depth of field is narrow, which allowed me to isolate the branches of the tree from the background. I have been working on my Milky Way shots. Photographing the Milky Way is technically difficult and it's quite a specialty. I am a student and still learning. Foreground is important in these shots to provide scale. Fortunately, the grass is being illuminated by the light of the hotel behind me. This one was made up of two 20 to 30 second exposures. I was wearing a headlamp and ventured out into the grass above the dunes at Long Beach during a 10-second delay of the first 20-second exposure. This is at Deception Pass on the Whidbey Island side, with the tip of Fidalgo Island on the other side of the channel. I was happy to see the same driftwood that had been there a couple years earlier, which I had shot during an earlier sunset. This one is a time exposure landscape image. I am learning about the color subtleties of my current camera, a Sony, which it produces. Each make and model camera has its unique features. This one produces nice pastels and certain types of light. I find it pleasing. I was strolling on the docks at Seattle's Fisherman's Terminal at Ballard, and suddenly there was a burst of sunlight that was allowed between the clouds just at sunset. I find marinas a bit hard to photograph with any kind of balanced composition, but I achieved something of value with this one, I believe. I disturbed some swans at Sykes Lake, so they took to flight. They circled the spot I was photographing from, and I captured them while panning. In other words, following them with my lens as they flew in front of a row of trees in the fog. The trees provided a nice misty backdrop that without, I don't think this would have been as good an image. This light bulb at Rosslyn, Washington appeared to be very old. The glass was rough and weathered. I liked the colors in the background from a brick building and a window. The bulb hung the other way, but I flipped it upright and planted a tree in it through editing. It took some time to perfect it the way I had envisioned. My collection of images where I take liberty to provide special effects is called Artistic Freedom. There I include images that I have pushed beyond the pure basic documentary photograph into a more artistic creation. Washington State has some scenic gems. This is one of many, but is considered a prize, an icon by landscape photographers. This scene is almost a roadside attraction, but you must walk a few hundred feet down a path to obtain it. I have a bit of an aversion to photographing scenes that have been photographed to death by many photographers. But once in a while I enjoy adding iconic shots to my collection anyway. This is Mount Shuksan, reflecting off in an appropriately named picture lake. This is a tulip field in the Skagit Valley of Washington State and is made up of 3 separate photographs. I shot the first image with only the foreground tulips in focus, the second with focus in the middle, and the third on infinity. By far the biggest challenge I faced in producing this composite was of the wind. The tulips and their leaves were moving and had moved between images, and digital automation did not have a solution, so I had to edit each petal, each leaf, each stem by hand. This became an obsession which lasted hours upon hours over about a week. Another iconic Washington view site is Snoqualmie Falls. This is the closest potential for obtaining an iconic shot from where I reside. I photographed Snoqualmie Falls many times, but somehow I had never spotted this composition with this particular tree. I must have walked past it a dozen times. There was another photographer on the right side of the tree, so he would have a different composition than the one I was eyeing. On a peninsula on the northwesternmost point of Washington State and the contiguous 48 states of the United States for that matter, there is a park. It is the Olympic National Park, one of the most spectacular parks in the country. My family, while I was growing up, trekked and camped on this coastline before all was completely annexed to within the national park boundaries. An exception to the annexations is in regard to tribal lands. This is a sunset taken on one of those lands, La Push. Foggy and misty is how it is here. This is the norm. We are here in one of the world's temperate rainforests, this one being on the west coast of North America. These trees stand a few hundred feet inland from the ocean at La Push. I cannot get enough images of coastal trees to satisfy my interest in how they silhouette and transition into the fog, adding a mysterious depth to these images. Move over, California. Surfers have discovered hotter new places in the colder waters up north of you. They're surfing off Washington State and British Columbia too. Here is a surfer riding comfortably on a smooth approach towards the beach. They're surfing La Push. When I was a teenager, I used to have surfing posters on the wall of my bedroom above the garage. I turned this one into a personalized surfing poster in homage to my youth. This is wilderness camping along the Olympic Peninsula at Cape Alava. There was enough wood around with driftwood and with sticks and twigs from the brush under the trees to make a fire. Cape Alava is the westmost point of the contiguous United States. This was an exceptionally clear night in mid-September. As the light dimmed and the stars were robustly appearing, I took this time exposure image. From the time the leaves start to turn color to when the colors reach their peak is a very short period. It comes and goes so fast that by just being busy with other life you can easily miss it. I was driving a family member to their destination, which was in a rural area in western Washington. This scene jumped out to me as non-presumptuous and idyllic. I saw it as I drove past, found a U-turn spot, and returned to the scene. And I felt very lucky to be there at the right time. At the Bellevue Botanical Gardens, on an unused section of a cedar bench, these two little mushrooms presented themselves. Luckily I had brought along a macro lens, a lens for extreme close-up work. These mushrooms were perhaps only about 2 or 3 inches tall. The tree fall is cedar fir, the planks on the bench are cedar. I haven't researched what kind of mushrooms those were, but knowing a background about an image adds additional aesthetic value to such an image, I believe. I closed down the lens aperture to obtain a star effect from the sun shining through the bright red fall leaves of a maple tree. Seeking contrast, I got it through the intense backlighting on this sunny day at Bellevue Botanical Gardens. Once again from Beard's Cove at Cape Disappointment at the mouth of the Columbia River, after the sun had dipped below the horizon, I was able to capture the afterglow with a long exposure of several seconds. The wispiness in the near distance is from the waves. The patterns in the sand in the foreground were left from a previous set of waves. At the base of Cape Disappointment at the mouth of the Columbia River, Beard's Cove, photographing opportunities exist for composing rock, waves, sand, and golden sunset. The timing has to be right though, and I was a few seconds off. The sun and the wave did not align perfectly, but I was able to capture 2 frames and blend them together, one for the sun and one for the actual wave. I felt it appropriate to disclose. The beach is cool, but I really like the dunes. Along the long Beach Peninsula coastline and other coastlines further north, sand dunes are formed above the surf lines. Wheat-like grass takes hold and acts like a filter, allowing hints of blue and white waves beyond in the distance. The sounds, smells, and the feeling of sand underfoot is an experience I have had many times, and I do wish to experience it more. Thanks for watching. As usual, if you like the video, please click like and please subscribe so that you'll pick up more of those videos as I do them. And I'm wishing you a happy 2020.